Bandy, and this is my channel, Bandy's Books. Today is Tuesday, and just like every Tuesday, we're back with another book-related recipe. And like the rest of October, we're going to be continuing our focus on horror, thriller, spooky genre. As you can see, I have my Halloween apron on and a little bit of Halloween bubbly to enjoy while we cook this recipe. The book that we're going to be focusing on today does not fall specifically into the horror genre. It's more of like a thriller suspense, but the author who wrote it is well known for his horror. And the book that I'm talking about is Billy Summers by Stephen King. This book features a guy named Billy Summers who was military, served in the Middle East for a couple tours, came home a little bit disenchanted with the world, and ended up working for the mob as a hitman. He does have some particular moral regulations that he follows, and he's not your typical mob assassin. He's quiet, he's thoughtful, he's really into books, well read, he likes to write. There's a lot of things that kind of break out of that cliche assassin mold that I really enjoyed. And the book, a lot of it focuses on his relationships with some of the other characters. But the impetus of the plot is that he is taking on one last hit. And after that, he's retiring. He's done. He's going to live a peaceful life. And of course, it doesn't go the way that he planned. And, things kind of spitball from there. It's a hefty book, but it was a good book. I really enjoyed it. It was not at all what I was expecting from a Stephen King book. A little bit more action suspense, a little less horror, but definitely worth the read. One of the things that I really love about this book is that at multiple points throughout the story, the character really focuses on food. Food that he's given, food that he cooks, food that he's served. There was some nice food description and like pages of scenes revolving around food. So today we're gonna create a recipe revolving around one of the dishes that comes up in the Billy Summers book. And it's going to be a little bit of a departure from some of the previous recipes. I know we've been focusing mostly on savory food, and that's because I am a trained chef and my focus was on savory food. I don't have much training in the sweet side of things, aside from some basic baking classes in culinary school. But today I thought, because it's cozy and fall, and these are very fall flavors, and baking always is so much better in the fall when it's cool, that we would switch over to the sweet side of things and try a baking recipe. So today we're going to be doing a recipe from Stephen King's Billy Summers, and it's going to be cranberry orange muffins. Okay, so to get started with this recipe, we're going to need a handful of things. We'll start with the equipment first. We're going to need a cutting board and a knife. We're going to use that to cut up our cranberries. We're going to need a mixing bowl and a couple measuring cups, a whisk, a spatula, and a microplane. We're also going to need muffin tins and some muffin papers. For ingredients, we're going to need eggs, butter, Greek yogurt, milk, flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, sugar, vanilla extract, cinnamon, almonds. Cranberries can be fresh or frozen. I do not recommend dried cranberries, and a couple of oranges. Okay, so as you can see, our cranberries are all nice and halved. I'm using frozen cranberries because fresh were not available. And in this bowl, I have about 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're just gonna take our nice halved cranberries and pop them in with the sugar. And we just wanna give them a little toss so that they're coated nicely. So it's going to help that tartness. Cranberries are real tart and bitter when they're not sweetened. And so we just kind of want to make sure that they're nice and covered in the sugar. You can see, and then we're going to let them sit for a little bit while we get the batter ready. Okay, so we're going to start making our batter while our cranberries marinate with the sugar. So we're going to start with a half a cup of butter. Okay, pop that right in there. And then I have 3/4 a cup of sugar, and we're gonna go ahead and just mix that right in. So in some muffin recipes, they'll wait until you get to the very end of the batter to mix the butter in. to kind of create that nice muffin texture. In this particular one, because we're adding yogurt and things, we're gonna go ahead and cream the sugar and the butter together. Creaming it means that it's completely combined, nice and smooth. We're gonna whip it in, make sure that there's no chunks of butter at all. This is why you want your butter to be a little bit melty. It doesn't have to be like completely liquid, but it should be smooth enough that you can beat all of this together. Okay, it's all nice and combined. Okay, so now that we've got our butter and sugar combined, we're gonna go ahead and add our eggs. So we're gonna do 2 eggs here. Careful not to get shell in your batter. We're just gonna mix that in until it's nice and combined. Okay, it's all combined. So now we're gonna add our Greek yogurt. It's a 1/2 cup. I'm using full fat Greek yogurt. You can use low fat if you would like. It won't change the recipe. Just happen to have the full fat Greek yogurt on hand. So we're gonna mix that in again, just until it is nice and combined. We're gonna add our vanilla extract. Okay, 2 teaspoons. And we're gonna zest 2 oranges. And then save these oranges after you've zested them, because we're going to be using the juice later. So when you zest, you just want to get down to like where you start to lose the color of the peel. If you get much farther where it gets like really white, you're going to get a really bitter taste. That's the pith, and the pith unfortunately is not very tasty baked or raw. It can really ruin the flavor. Most of the time when people tell me that they don't like zest in their food, it's because I feel like they've had like a very pithy zest in the past. And I think when you zest things properly, it doesn't really have that much of a bitter taste. It has more of like the essence of that flavor, in this case, nice orange flavor. And when you think of like cranberries and cranberry relish and things like that, there's nothing better than orange with that to balance it out. So there's 1 zested. We're gonna go for the second one here. Okay. I just kind of go around the whole thing. I like to do this fresh as well, because zest can dry out the longer that it sits. It kind of loses its freshness, you get kind of crunchy, and I feel like it starts to lose flavor when it does dry out. So I recommend zesting straight into your batter. Okay, here's our 2 oranges zested. Just gonna give this a light tap, make sure everything came off of our microplane. So we're gonna mix our orange zest and our vanilla extract in. And man, does this smell good already. That orange essence from the zest smells delightful. Okay, so from here we're gonna go ahead and add in our dry ingredients. Okay, so we've got our wet ingredients mixed for the most part. And then we have our dry ingredients here. We've got 1 cup and 3/4 of flour, some baking soda, baking powder, salt, and cinnamon. And this is gonna go right in. We're just gonna mix it to combine. The trick with muffins is you just really don't wanna like over mix them. So you just kind of wanna bring things together. Just gonna kind of start to incorporate this a little bit. And then we've got just a couple more wet ingredients to add in. We're gonna add our last 2 wet ingredients. I've got a couple tablespoons of orange juice. This was about the equivalent of 1 orange. And we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of milk. And we're gonna go ahead and mix this all the way up now until we get a batter. Okay. Like I said previously, you don't want to over mix muffins. It's okay if there's like a little bit of lumpiness in the batter. Like you don't want it to be perfectly smooth, because it can actually make your muffins a little tough and chewy. So we're just gonna kind of clean off our whisk there. And now that our batter is all mixed, I like to scrape down the sides just to make sure everything gets incorporated. We're gonna go ahead and mix in our cranberries that have been marinating in the sugar. Just pop them right in. Some recipes that you'll see for orange cranberry muffins use whole cranberries. The reason that I go for halved cranberries is because I personally find that cranberries, again, can be quite bitter, and I find that halving them allows them to kind of absorb the sugar a little bit more. And not only does it allow the sugar to absorb a little bit more, but it kind of balances out how much of like cranberry you're getting in one bite. Instead of getting a whole bitter cranberry, you just get like a nice half. And then we're gonna add in a handful of almond slivers, just a taste. I personally like my muffins to have a crunchy element. You could leave this out for sure, it's not required. I'm just a fan of texture. I do like, you know, something that pops like the cranberries, something that's crunchy like some nuts, you know, and then the softness of the muffin itself. It's all a good combination for me. I think almonds also go really well with cranberries and orange. So there's our batter. All right, so we have our muffin tins ready. Our oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know the Celsius conversion off the top of my head, sorry, typical American, but I will include it in the recipe in the description. We're going to line each of these muffin tins with a muffin cup. I feel like these always like are super sticky. And let's see if we can get to the blue ones. Okay, so we're just gonna scoop some of our batter into each cup. We want these cups to be nice and full, right up to the top. And with the frozen cranberries, the batter is going to be a little thicker, so don't get too freaked out about that. So we're just going to continue filling these muffin cups up. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera here because I know it's not the most exciting thing watching me scoop batter. We will be back in just a second to show you how to finish these off right before we throw them in the oven. Okay, so as you can see, we've got our muffins all tinned up. No matter how hard I try to make a recipe that makes a dozen, I always end up with a baker's dozen. That's okay, one more muffin for me. I have a little bit of turbinado sugar, and we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit on top of each muffin. This is gonna give each muffin kind of a nice, sweet, crunchy crust. I really like this on this particular type of muffin because, like I said, you have the tartness of the cranberry, you have the acidity of the orange, so that little bit of sweet crunch on the top from that sugar, it just, for me, goes really nicely with it. It's not necessary. If you wanted to cut down on the sweetness of these muffins, you could definitely leave this particular stuff out. For me though, I really, really enjoy it. So we're gonna go ahead and pop these into the oven now. Once we get them all sugared up, let's see, we'll put a little more there, a little more there, a little more there. Okay, all right. We've got our sugar all over these. They're gonna go into the oven now, 350 degrees for 25 minutes or so. We're gonna check them halfway and rotate them just to make sure that they're browning evenly. Okay, so our muffins have been in for about 12 minutes now. We're gonna take a look and see how they're doing. They smell really good though. Okay, so as we can see, they are nice and risen. They're starting to get some color. We're just gonna give them a rotation so that they brown nice and evenly. So we're just gonna spin each tray around, change the position in the oven. This little guy is gonna go back here like that. This is exactly what we want, a nice round top, the sugar starting to crystallize. These are gonna be so good. Be back in another 10 to 15 minutes to check them out, finish them off, and say goodbye. Our muffins, I believe, are ready. I can kind of tell by the smell. I can really smell that sugar caramelizing and the oranges and everything. It's really, really fragrant. So the smell is giving me an indication that these are probably ready. We're gonna double check them though. So you're gonna open these up. Oh yeah, these look really good. So you can see that they have a nice brown color. They're firm to the touch. We're gonna do the stick test. I'm gonna take a thermometer and just pop it in, and it comes out clean. You can see that there's no goo. So that means these are good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these from the oven. We're gonna let them cool a bit, and then we're going to wrap things up. We're gonna go ahead and pull them out of the tray and just set them here to cool. As you can see, they have nice round tops, just like we want. Can give these like maybe 1 or 2 more minutes at home if you are not used to handling hot stuff. For me, for years of working in kitchens, this doesn't really bother my hands, but definitely, you know, don't try to pick up stuff that's, you know, hotter than your hands can handle. You don't want to burn yourself. Oh yeah, these are so pretty and they smell so incredibly good. I cannot wait to eat one. Okay. Now I know these tins are disposable. I tend to reuse them if they didn't get dirty. We'll just kind of clean them off and reuse them in the future. All right, so our muffins are finished. They're all cooling on the counter here behind me, but I can't wait any longer. These smell so good. If you make this recipe for any reason, it should be at least just the smell of what I'm smelling right now. The cranberry, the orange, the vanilla, the sweetness of the sugar caramelizing. I wish I could make this into a candle, honestly. It is so, so lovely. And personally, I really like to eat muffins while they're still hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and probably burn my mouth, but I can't wait anymore. So we're just gonna take the paper right off. This is perfect how it just comes off like this. It's not super sticky. Look at that. That's a nice clean peel right there. And let's try this bad boy out. Oh, it's so good. Look how nice and light and springy that muffin is. You can see the cranberries have kind of broken down and melted and gotten juicy. The muffin itself is super, super spongy, soft, light, and airy. Even my dog is excited about it. He's in here looking for crumbs. This is such a treat. I honestly wish I'd made like 2 or 3 times as many of these muffins as I did, but that'll just be incentive to make them again soon. So I hope that you enjoy this recipe, and I hope you'll try these at home. They're pretty simple and they are so, so worth it. They have such a nice cozy fall flavor. They really remind me of like Thanksgiving and autumn, and they would be great for any kind of like family get together, office party, anything like that. Make a big batch of these and bring them in. People are gonna be super, super happy with you. So if you're gonna be trying this recipe out, let me know in the comments below. Of course, if you have any questions or anything was unclear, please also let us know in the comments. I will be responding to every single comment. The recipe with measurements both in grams and ounces will be in the description, so please look there if you need the quantities written down for you. And if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy these types of recipes based on books, if you enjoy book content in general, please consider giving me a subscribe and hit the notification bell. I do post a book-related recipe every single Tuesday and a book review or book haul sort of video every Thursday. I do it like clockwork. I never miss it. And if you can, hit that like button. It really helps me know if you're enjoying the content that I'm posting. So thank you again for joining us. I'm Caitlin Bandy. This is Bandy's Books, and we'll see you in the next video.